Welcome to In the Metal, and thank you for joining us for another look into the world of independent watchmaking and this evening watchmaking in general, the watch industry. It's Earth Day 2021, and sustainability is one of the hot topics in the watch industry, and indeed it's something that affects all of our lives. Climate change conferences are happening today, and it's one of those very important burning issues, and we're going to be talking about that today, as well as a number of other things. And we're going to be talking to a gentleman who his name, it just transcends the watch industry, and there are very few people, if any, working in the watch industry that are not either familiar with his name or his face and his logic. To do this, we are going to go across, first of all, to Gun Barrel City in Texas to welcome Mr. Dan Spitz and say, what the hell is going on? How are you?
How you doing, Johnny? Good to see you again.
Wonderful to see you. Wonderful to see you. Hey, Dan. All going well in your own world? How are you getting? How's your atelier coming on? And
atelier coming along wonderfully. Some new machines arrived that I've been restoring. Some jig borers to help along with the production of the escapements and so forth. And yeah, we're settling in, and the finishing room is starting to come together. And expansion. You know, and good for American watchmaking. And that's what this is all about. I'm here to just represent my country for independent watchmaking, and like it hasn't been for over 100 years. So hopefully I kick some ass into somebody else that will, be able to do the same.
For sure. So hey, what about this? It's Earth Day, and we've been like I do say this. All of our guests are amazing. The people that we've been able to talk to and introduce and over their words, it's fascinating. Typically, it's exclusively about independent watchmaking, but this time, there's one man, and if there's anything going on in the watch industry that he doesn't know about, it ain't worth knowing about. So, this is Mr. Jean-Claude Biver. A career that has spanned Audemars Piguet. It has gone to Blancpain, a dormant brand that he breathed new life into, revitalized, defied the whole scene of electronic quartz watches, and moved on then to Omega, through Zenith, through Tag Heuer, and Hublot. An absolute phenomenon of a brand, which I can remember the early Hublot watches pre Jean-Claude Biver, and they were distinctive in their styling, but what Jean-Claude has done to that brand is just he put it right on the top of the pile.
It's going to be it's our honor, of course, to have him on the show. But I think this is very important for young entrepreneurs or young watchmakers, or just independent watchmakers in general, to really pay attention to how to build your brand. Because I keep pushing, and you keep pushing, everyone we have on the show that is a little young, or even the older generation who does not want to embrace Instagram and the availabilities they have at their fingertips for free to push their own brand. Listen up and listen to what Jean-Claude has to say, because he's built just a few brands from dust.
People we're not paying any attention to, and by God, they're paying attention to them now.
Right. I keep pushing that. He'll come on 1 second, but all I want to say is what I always say try to say to to everybody else's. You can't just lock yourself up making the most magnificent timepieces and inventing a new kind of escapement like I'm doing, and then expect everyone to pound your door down to purchase your product or to brand yourself the way you are as a human. You have to step away and you have to think about your brand, yourself, and your sales, because eventually you have to sell your product.
Well, there's no better man to sell a watch than Jean-Claude Biver. So let us go across to his home in Switzerland and say, good evening, Jean-Claude. Thank you so much for joining us. What a pleasure to have your company this evening.
Good evening, Johnny. Good evening, Dan. Thank you very much for having me on board tonight. I'm very pleased, and I'm looking forward to our conversation and our exchanges and our sharing. We're going to share some great ideas, I hope. And I hope it will help all the young entrepreneurs. You know, I'm very conscious of all the privileges I had in my life, and I believe that time has come for me now to give back. You cannot live all the time with your privileges. You must be conscious that you got privileges, and at a certain moment of your life, it's time to give back, because we should all try to die naked by having given back everything that we learned, having given back all our experiences, having given back all our successes, all our failures, all our doubts. And that is an important part in life. Fortunately or unfortunately, this part of life is coming at the end of your life. So I'm close with 70, very soon 73 years. I'm close of the end, and I want the end of my last 10 years or 20 years, whatever, I want to devote them to help by giving back and to give new ideas, to help the new generation, to support financially or through my experience, young entrepreneurs. And that is today my real dream. You know, I have retired from my job, but I have not retired from my passion. You can retire from a job, but you will never retire from a passion. And by helping young entrepreneurs, that keeps my passion alive. And my job, it's okay. I'm very pleased that I left my job and that I'm not anymore involved. But the passion, I would never want to quit my passion.
Right.
So tonight is a great occasion for me, for all of us, to give maybe some advice or some ideas to young entrepreneurs, young watchmakers. And I'm happy to start now with you guys.
Well, it's wonderful to have you, and that is just so much love, you know, and that's what we try to show to everyone, that you have to give love back to the world. Your timepiece, as independent watchmakers, you know, we manufacture love. It's not just a brand to sell, you know, 2,000 or 3,000 watches a year. It's a little bit different. It is really a bond of love with a piece that the person might not even want to let go. And as I said in the intro, Jean-Claude, trying to show these younger watchmakers that they have to brand themselves. What is your logo? What are you? What is it all about? What sets your independence from being different from anybody else's independence? Do you have a different machine? What do you use? You have to utilize the internet. We're old enough to know, right, that it was a way harder struggle for us, for you to build a brand way back when, or for me to build a monolithic band that took over 2 planets now, with NASA playing my music on planet Mars and all that. There was no internet back then, right? You had to have money, an investor. You had to place an ad in a watch magazine or a heavy metal magazine. You have Instagram is a free magazine at your disposal as a young entrepreneur. You have YouTube. You have your own television station for free. Why aren't you utilizing these modern technologies to the utmost extent? You should be utilizing all of these. The big brands do. So you have to somehow find a way as well to utilize these. and build your brand. What's your branding? And we try to show them, because a lot of them, we're just making their masterpiece and they think it's magically just going to sell. So, it doesn't work that way, does it?
No. Well,
to make a masterpiece and to think you can sell it, that brings you back to the 18th century when the watchmaking art was developing. Just to have the piece was enough to sell. Now, to make a watch is not the most important thing. To make the most complicated watch is not the most important element. The most important element, unfortunately, and that's a drama somehow, and I regret it, it's communication. If you invent the best vaccine against the COVID, but you are not capable to communicate it, nobody will buy it, nobody will know it. And so your invention is for nothing. It is worth zero. Your invention of the vaccine is only valid if people know it, that you have it, and then they can buy. But how can you buy a watch which you don't know? How can you buy a name which you never heard about it? So today, and that's the drama for all the artists, because the people who are making these watches with their fingers, they are building soul into a product. The watch is one of the rare products where you can say there is a soul inside. And the soul is what attracts people. And art is eternal. Art is not only love. Art is love, of course. But what is love? Love is eternal. Art is eternal. You connect to God. You connect to eternity. But what's the sense to connecting to eternity when nobody knows it? And so the promotion, the communication, all these tools you mentioned, YouTube, Instagram, internet, they are essential. And very often artists who are geniuses with their fingers, they are not interested in communication. They hate the communication. They hate this, what they call marketing. But unfortunately, it is essential. Without marketing, there's so much noise out there that without communication, you will never succeed. But you also need, as you said, Dan, you need to build a brand. You need a brand identity. You need a mission. What is the mission of your brand? How do you recognize your brand? And these elements they have nothing to do with the watchmaking art. They are just tools of communication, which we human beings, we all dress differently. We all try to be recognizable through our aesthetic, through our taste. And it's the same for your brand. The brand is something that is alive. And we have to learn how to communicate. We know enough how to make great watches. We know enough how to invent fantastic pieces. That's okay. But now the next step is to go on with our inventions, but to make it known. And I give you one example of a great brand that should be good in communication. It's Hublot. Hublot invented the first 18-karat gold alloy, where two of the characteristics of gold have been mastered and eliminated. One characteristic of gold, it's heavy, which is bad. And another characteristic, it's soft, which is even worse because it's scratched. So those two elements, I said to a professor of our technical school university in Lausanne, a guy that came back from the MIT, and I told him, can we not in the 21st century finally invent a new alloy which will eliminate the two weaknesses, which means I want gold to be light and I want gold to be scratch-free, unscratchable. And the guy said, but Mr. Biver, do you know what you're asking? I said, I only know that we're in the 21st century and that everything be possible. So we launched a study. It took us only 5 or 6 years, and we have the first 18 karat gold that is 36% lighter than another 18 karat gold, and that is unscratchable. Only a diamond can scratch it. Now, this invention, which came out in 2010, I think, or 11, nobody knows about it. So it's useless. We were not capable to communicate such an incredible invention. And as great this invention is, it's useless when people don't know it. So when people don't know that you have done this invention, nobody will buy, nobody will pay attention to it. So you see, communication is crucial. And that's somehow I understand why the people, the artists who are giving birth to a soul with their fingers are totally frustrated, because at the end of the day, they fail because of a lack of communication. And that's a drama, and we should really try in our schools to try to teach to people that they have to communicate, they have to brand their ideas, because an idea that is not branded is a useless idea.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that myself. Of getting the message out. I've done a number of different things with watches and platforms, and I started thinking of myself as Mr. 95%, because I did all the legwork. I built the platforms, I populated them, I got them up and running, and just getting that last little push over the hill so it could start getting momentum. I know exactly what you mean, and I also think it relates to the whole marketing thing. It bring up a really interesting question, Dan, because the marketing scenario has changed so much since you took over or you breathed new life into Blancpain. There was no internet there. There was no Instagram. There was no YouTube where you could put up cool, catchy videos and things that got there. It all had to be done the old way, and that was legwork. That was getting your name out there. It was finding the budget for advertising in magazines and newspapers, or getting a placement which you became expert at through so I actually think that nowadays, that although the watchmaker's job, there's a lot more to it, because you have to market yourself. It's all the tools are there. You just need but
that's it. There's a funny old saying. It still applies. If you're not going to advertise, something like, if you don't advertise, what's going to happen? Nothing. It's basically it. But the thing is, it's free. It's at your fingertips now, and that's the birth of independent watchmaking, which we're now in. What I assume is the third generation of this. We're not the guys behind the scenes making parts for some of the other larger independents or larger companies anymore. We used to do that as ghost builders with NDA contracts, making gears and pinions for their when they want to make 5 or 10 watches. Now we can make our own. You know why? Because now we can go direct to the public and advertise on Instagram and use YouTube and use platforms like this to speak with people like Jean-Claude, who are giving you the same advice that I've been trying to give you. Look, I built a band with the music that nobody wanted for 2.5 years. We hired a manager who had a cassette of Metallica and had a cassette of Anthrax. He managed both of us to every record company for 2.5 years, and they said it sounded like when you fucking flush the toilet. What is this crap? We want a band that looks like Kiss or Motley Crue, that dresses up. Believe in yourself. Keep pushing forward. You believe in what you got to do, don't market it yourself. So what do? We got in a van. We started playing live together and touring, even if it's 5 people, 10 people, because those 10 people become 100 people, become 1,000 people. Push your product. Push who you are. Be true to you. But you got to do it. You have to market yourself. You got to step away from the bench. Otherwise, it's just not going to work out in the end. You have to build your brand. And your brand is you now. So it is a little bit different in independent watchmaking than building a normal brand. You are really building you as a personality. So you have to be personable.
Before we move on from marketing, branding, do you wish you had the internet back in the 1980s and 1990s, Jean-Claude?
No, not at all. I was very happy that we didn't have the internet, because not having the internet, how did we proceed? It's simple. When you don't have the internet, you have your personality. It means you have to work 20 hours a day and you have to visit 20 countries a year and go and show your face and talk and motivate and explain. And that today, thanks to internet, you don't have to do it in the same way. But in the past, if you would not be able to travel to 20 countries per year and to work 20 hours and to make conferences in every city, to go to the retailers, to talk to the salespeople, to talk to customers, you don't show your face, then you would not be successful. So the elimination of the people, it was much more difficult. Now internet makes it easy for everybody. Somehow, it's not necessarily so easy, but nevertheless, it is a big simplification. And the online, with online, you can talk like tonight. How did we do the show of tonight in 1982? By coming to America and having inviting people tonight, 10 or 20, and talking with these people. And then tomorrow I would travel to another city. So it was really the result of your working. The more you would work, the more you would get the results. Today, eventually, you don't need to travel. I say eventually. I don't believe. I believe in traveling. I believe in the eyes, in the contact with the eyes. I believe that we are human beings, that every human being has expression. You can, you have a character, you have a mood, you have humor, you have something, you have charisma, etc. That is also a big asset. And today we have to be careful not to do everything online, not to do everything by YouTube, or we have also to pay with our body and to go to the people and to talk to the people, to look people in their eyes. And that is a big asset. So never forget, next to the digital, you have also your personality. And for the independent, as you said, Dan, the independent at the end of the day, he is the brand. So it's much easier to sell yourself rather than to sell a brand that belongs to a big group. It's more easy to sell yourself. You just have to behave. You just have to do the effort. You just have to get sympathy. You just have to have charisma. You have to be strong. You have to be optimistic. You have to motivate people, and then it works. And that, the human being cannot get out of the game. In the game, whatever you have, whatever the online, whatever the YouTubes, the person is still the boss. And we have to work on the personality, and we have to express this.
All right, you're 100% right. I mean, I always say in the old days, I feel like I'm old. I am a little bit old, but in the old days, it's the same story. With music, people ask, "Oh, didn't you just go on tour and you played? What'd you do the rest of the time?" We didn't have this. What we had was interviews, which meant get in a taxi, go 80 miles, wherever it was, to a radio station, to a television station. Sometimes we had to play live at that television station. And then from there, I get a call. It's Australia, different time zone. I have to do an interview. Then I get a call from somewhere else. In the middle of the night when I'm sleeping in the hotel, when I just got in at 3:30 in the morning after playing and being on a tour bus, traveling from the last gig, I got to get up. I got to get to work and talk to that interview person on the phone. Then I got to maybe try to call home, and you got to get an operator to call the United States, wait for them to call you back. You don't sleep. You work. That's what you do. You want to build your brand, be it a band to take over the world with a piece of wood and 6 little metal strings, and you think you can do it? You think it's going to come to you? It's not going to come to you. Same thing in independent watchmaking. You are a thrash metal band from that era. You're not a big brand. You don't have a boardroom. You don't have Jean-Claude, heading up your boardroom. It's you, maybe your wife. So get to work, utilize your tools. They're free. Build your brand, and your brand is you. I'm me. I'm a character, right? I'm unique. That's me. I am who I am. I am who God made me, and you're going to get that, like it or not. That's my timepiece. That's what you purchase when you order a Spitz timepiece. Yeah. Besides, my mechanics are crazy. Yeah, I can make crazy stuff, but like Jean-Claude said, big deal. I play guitar like nobody else on planet Earth either. I'll rip your face off, but what good is it if I'm not on the stage?
True.
Agreed.
Yeah. And do you know what? Just on that, I can empathize as well, because my previous career, I worked in the beer industry. We imported beers from Europe, and our opposition were the biggest guys imaginable. There were companies like Guinness and Heineken and that there. We went out around Ireland to sell our beer, and I think what gave us that success was the eye contact. What you're expressing, Jean-Claude, is winning people over. You're going out and you're putting your message, your product, your brand, and your person in front of these people. And if they like what they see and they like your patter, that opened doors for us. And eventually, I looked back at what we were doing, and I figured that the difference between me as selling goods that I and my family were bringing into the country versus the people who were taking sales orders for the big companies was I was selling, they were taking orders. And that is what actually gave us a foothold in through the door, because it mattered. If I didn't sell, I didn't eat. If they didn't sell, they would get a ticking off at their board meeting every month, and they'd have to up their game. Targets. Man, it was nothing like that. And that's what made us different, the independence that we enjoyed then. And I carried that across into digital, and it's not the same. You can put your heart and your soul into your product or your brand or your platform. It's that digital marketing is a different beast to physical marketing. And
you got a dream as well, right? Jean-Claude, explain to them. You're on the top. We'll go back in time just quickly. You're on the top of the Nebraska mountain, right? You're Piguet, right? Piguet is a movement manufacturer, okay, which I've been to. Audemars Piguet is right down the road. It's around the corner, right? You have a dream. You can buy a name, right, called Blancpain, and fuse those two things. Now, without the marketing and the ingenuity, you had a guy who can make movements, right? Piguet. So there's your independent watchmaker of today. Let's call him. Now you got a name. Somehow we all have to fuse that and get that out to the world. You are the genius who knows how to do all that kind of stuff. In music, we hire someone like you. They're called a manager. Because like you said earlier, we just want to play. That's why all those stories you always hear about musicians who lost all their money to the crooked manager. Because he's good at taking everything you all have, putting it together, and selling it to the public. He knows what the public wants, right? And you did that. And what we're trying to do is show your genius of how you did that. And you have to remember, you all look at it like it's easy. Jean-Claude will tell you it wasn't easy. It took a long time. Didn't happen in a day, right?
It didn't happen in a day, but I must say it was not so difficult. Why? Because in 1980, every brand believed in Switzerland that the solution to survive would be the quartz movement. Every brand. Patek did quartz, started to make their own quartz in 1980. AP had a quartz Royal Oak. Even Rolex, they touched a quartz movement. So suddenly we came out and we claimed since 1735 there has never been a Blancpain quartz watch and there will never be one. That was the claim. That was what we were saying. When every newspaper, every second day was writing in the that the only way to save the Swiss watch industry was like Mr. Hayek, swatch in quartz. And when you come with such a contrarian statement, such provocative statement, you get an incredible attention, because suddenly people say, hey, what are these guys writing? Since 1735, they have never made a quartz, and they refuse to make it. Hey, why? So the attention was immediate. Immediately, we got so much attention that it made our job relatively easy, you know. And from that day on, I knew that when you are first different, unique, that means you are different from all the others. If you are first different, unique, the road is open. It's like in America, you have a guy, I don't remember his name, a big investor. He's found his Berkshire, and he comes from Omaha. He's a big billionaire. He's maybe the third or fourth richest guy. He always said, you must be contrarian. When the stock market is going down, you must buy.
Yeah.
Most of the people, when the stock market is going down, they get afraid and they sell. That's the last thing to do. Contrarian. Just go the other way. So Blancpain was 100% contrarian. And this strong contrarian statement brought enormous attention. In that sense, I say it was a little bit easy because we were so unique. We were so much different that the job was not so difficult. It would be more difficult today than it was in the past.
Yeah, it's kind of like you just said, screw you, watch us, you know? And that's being unique. That's following your pathway and your dream. But you saw that hole. So not many people can see that hole. There'll always be a little sheep, little follower. Everyone is a little sheep, little follower. Very few will step out. But the ones that do step out and do well, hopefully they do in the end, do turn around, like you said in the beginning, and like I try to do, we give back the love. Like I moved my new workshop 40 minutes from the WOSTEP school here so that they can have access to my machines here that it's not in their school. It's not even in the United States of America, right? So we have to give back. We have to teach and get other people on their way and get their feet in solid cement. You know, like a good foundation you can build on. A sinking sand piece of shit is not going to get you anywhere. Go with your dreams. Be yourself.
You know, the philosopher, the Chinese philosopher called Confucius, he wrote and he said, only the dead fish swims in the direction and in the speed of the current. It means if you are in the current, if you go in the speed and the direction of the current, you are dead. Because a fish that is alive, he goes left or right of the current or against the current, or when he goes with the current, he goes twice the speed. So dead fish are all the ships that are following. All the followers are dead. They are dead fish. And if you want to be alive, you must go either left or right or back, or if you go with the speed, you have twice the speed. So never be dead fish. That's Confucius said it 1,000 years ago, and it's still valid.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you are our modern day Confucius, Jean-Claude. So
you know, Confucius said another thing that we were reading Confucius in our community when we were hippies in 1966, And Confucius said another thing that influenced my life. If you don't want to feel the daily pain of your work, transform your work into your passion.
Mm-hmm.
But all the independent, that's what they have done.
Yeah.
An independent doesn't work.
Yeah.
He enjoys, he is in his passion.
Mm-hmm.
A football player doesn't work, he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
So passion eliminates the pain of the work. Thanks to passion, you can be awake 36 hours every day somehow. But if you don't have the passion, you will get crazy and you will say, no, it's finished. I want the weekend, I want holidays, blah, blah, blah. Passion is love. And with love, you go over every mountain. There is no limit for passion.
Yeah,
there is no limit for love.
I never understood that term, working for the weekend and all that kind of stuff. Because at 13 years old or so, I was already, on a tour bus, playing. So it's different. Like you just said, it was my passion. So it did. What I said earlier, it didn't matter. If I flew into London and we had to play the Hammersmith Odeon or wherever it may have been, and then I have to get in a cab and go wherever it was, that was part of the passion. Yeah, it sucked, right? But whatever it was, it got me to 9 p.m. when I hit the stage and played to whatever it was, from 10,000 to 500,000 people if it was at a festival, because then I get to feel that love. And that's my passion. It's not a job. But what can I do to walk my own path? All the record companies turned us down. Big deal. I mean, look at my friends in Metallica. It's the largest grossing group on planet Earth, like ever, right? And then you're talking about someone who's been turned down record deal after record deal after record deal. Same with us. My song is on a lunar rover on planet Mars, playing alongside Frank Sinatra and the Beatles. Right? So dream your dreams. Don't give up, man. Don't be a pussy. Walk your own walk. But you know what, though, Jean-Claude? We both know some people are very comfortable in their skin, working and getting their paycheck and having that solidity. But for the others who are entrepreneurs and independent watchmaking, because you can be independent now, right? You have what we have right here. You're at your fingertips. You can do the same thing we're doing here, right? Be yourself. You can do it. We're living in an era where you can. You don't need $2.7 million for an advertising budget. All you need is time and some ingenuity. Do it. Get it together, man. You're looking at a gentleman here who's done it so many times in a time where we both grew up, where it's a lot harder. It's almost impossible. That's why he gets all the cred. Because he did it at a time where this wasn't free. This wasn't easy. It was impossible to walk in a huge company and say, I want to change things. That's not so easy.
For sure. Well, speaking of time, marching on, the time here is absolutely flying past. And I wanted, because of the significance of Earth Day, and I'm a big fan of what young Greta Thunberg is doing, and the awareness that she is generating among a completely new generation of young people who are pissed off with the older people who do not seem to care about what's going on in our planet. Now, the industry has, over the last 10 or so years, maybe a little bit longer, and it's been waking up to this very important matter that is going to affect all of us one way or the other. And where you may look at a wristwatch, Dan, and think, that watch it's going to last for generation to generation to generation. So it's not disposable. It's not something that's really requires recycling, but it's not even in the longevity of the life of the product. It's how it's made. And have you noticed, Jean-Claude, a change? And have you been pushing for it yourself, for that kind of responsible change going forward in the watch industry in general?
First of all, in general, I believe in nature. Planet Earth is my mother. Planet Earth is eventually even my God. So, and my belief is that we are living in a system. If you want healthy people, you need healthy animals, you need healthy plants, you need healthy sea, you need healthy earth, because we are an ecosystem. We are like the iOS of Apple. We are all dependent. And you cannot believe I will be happy man if I destroy people in the other part of the world, or if I destroy the forests in South America, or if I destroy the oceans. It's impossible. It can only last a very short time. And today we have reached the limit. We must become conscious that we are part of an ecosystem that is ruled by the rules of planet Earth. And we have to learn to come back to planet and to respect planet and not to exploit planet. It's totally different to live with respect or to live by stealing. We have been stealing planet Earth. We have been stealing the fish from the ocean. There are nearly no fishes anymore. We are stealing, we are killing rhinoceros and elephants. We are killing the trees. A tree is a living person. A tree has rights, not only the human rights. Where are the rights of the animals? Where are the rights of the plants? Where are the rights of the oceans? We have the human rights, but that's not enough fucking shit. We need more. We need to protect. We cannot survive if we destroy our planet. So my conscience is clearly there since I was a hippie. In 1966, I was talking like that. I still talk the same, but the conditions of the planet are much worse than in 1966. And nothing has been done since 1966. So now, finally, time has come. We have all to become conscious. How can you sell a watch with a crocodile strap? Are we crazy or what? I mean, I'm sorry if I'm a little bit too excited, but we should become careful. We should become conscious. We should become respectful. And we have to change our habits. And instead, I have nothing if people want a crocodile, why not? But why don't you put a rubber strap instead of a crocodile? Rubber is a natural product. It comes from a tree. Rubber has no allergies. Rubber can last 10 years. Rubber is very soft. Rubber is water resistant. So at the end, I believe a rubber strap is the best material for a strap for a watch. It's not leather. Leather is okay. Why not? I mean, I don't want to be extremist now. But you see, those little things, we have become conscious when we learn that you have a lot of diamonds with blood. A lot of diamonds came out from people that were suffering like slaves. So we have, that was our first conscious. Then we saw the same with gold. So the watchmakers are taking care not so much by their work, but from what they buy. So when we buy gold, we must be clear. We must double check that this gold has come legally. We must check the diamonds. We must check the leather. So we cannot act so much in our work because we don't use many forbidden materials. We had the tritium, now we have the luminescence that is not anymore dangerous. But so there is more. What we have to protect is how we buy. Do we buy the right diamonds? Do we buy the right gold? Do we buy the right leather, etc.? That is our responsibility, I believe.
I think you're 100% right, of course. But just a short time ago, we didn't have all these alternatives. And now we do. We can use rubber, thanks to Hublot, who started the whole trend, right? Which was really cool, right? So we have all these alternatives at our fingertips, and they're acceptable. There's plenty of people walking around with their luxury timepieces with rubber straps, and if you do wear one, you'll find out it's a lot better because it's not sweaty when you happen to go to the beach or even near the beach out to dinner. All that salt water is attacking your strap, and it'll save you about $550 every 12 months for a new strap. So just small things like that, yeah, they do add up. And I can say also, we as watchmakers, and especially in production, we use a lot of chemicals. And we've just recently, in the last 10 or 15 years, found out how dangerous all these chemicals were. So we're all mindful of all of that nowadays for this generation. And if you can't see, what's going on our planet, then you got to be blind, right? You got to be really, really blind, because if you're of my age, you see it. It's quite obvious, right?
Obvious. It's obvious.
It's
You see it every day. It's obvious. You can feel it every day. The climate, the water, every day. You can feel how much we destroy. I mean, how much time has come to stop it.
Who do you know that doesn't say, like, hey, the weather's never been like this where we live before? Where? It's not just one place. It's everyone everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. It is. So do you?
So wait a minute. Wait, you were at hippie? Were you at Woodstock?
No.
My country house was less than 1 mile from the actual Woodstock site. My dad owned most of the land going up to the site.
Fantastic.
So all the hippies were right there.
What a great period. What a great show. Phenomenal. That's unique. It will never be a second time like that. No. That was one time and forever. It will never be the same.
No, I mean,
it's phenomenal.
I played a few festivals with that many people myself, but it's not Woodstock. When you're first, you're first. If you're not first, you're last. Ricky Bobby.
For sure. But nice comment there from DM Tiffany Timepieces about there are new innovations every day in regard to sustainability and to advances.
Fantastic. I love the leather alternative made from cactus. Fantastic. That's a great idea. Bravo.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Put up Volty Walker. Yeah. Yes, there is. The solvents we use in our cleaning machines, we found out to be absolutely horrible. These chemicals we were sucking in the last generation, the watchmakers like my grandfather, just horrible. Now we have natural chemicals that are actually, I think they're better. A lot of people, most people think they're better. So yeah, plant-based everything, man. Absolutely.
Aaron, look, anything is an improvement over the way things were done, because there was a complacency towards the whole environment and the impact, even the water table where the effluents are being discharged out of plants, out of manufactories of all kinds. And so anything is an advance, an improvement over what has been done before. And I have a question myself, Jean-Claude, because it's a contentious one, because there's a whole industry clearly based around diamonds and the prestige of mined diamonds. But there are lab diamonds now, and lab-grown diamonds, and I'm wondering, are they going to filter in? Will they diminish the value of diamonds? I guess they might. And will there be a place for that, or is that going too far just for the time being?
I don't think it's going too far. I think you cannot resist to the alternatives. You cannot resist to the improvement of technology. And we, the watchmakers, were the first to buy heavily into the lab rubies. Lab rubies.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Nobody in the 18th century would ever have dreamt to have a lab ruby. But a lab ruby has a much better quality
Mm-hmm.
And so for the security and for the work of the watch and for the service, and as we said before, the watchmaking art is an art, and as such, it connects to eternity. It means a watch can, in 300 years, it will still work. So it was essential to find better rubies that are much clearer and cleaner. And the labs have given us this. Now, with the diamonds, I have never seen it, but I heard the diamonds coming from a lab have a color and a reflection that you would even confuse with a real one.
Mm-hmm.
And if that comes slowly, maybe in 20 years, maybe in 50 years, but one day we will have both on the market for sure.
Mm-hmm. No,
you cannot stop it.
No, you can't. And for those collectors who aren't unsure, when you see 18 rubies or whatever it is on your timepiece nowadays as watchmakers, we use synthetic rubies now. That's what Jean-Claude is speaking about, I think. And they last longer. We can press fit them in. We don't need to use the little gold chatons anymore, because cutting real rubies, they can fracture and chip and whatnot in after-sales service. In addition to that, I always joke with people, and it's really not funny, but I joke in a way so they are aware that in the old days, because I did a lot of restorations for many years, and we see very old timepieces on my bench, the oils that we used in the 1800s and 1700s were whale fat. A lot of them will come from animals, some kind of fat, real fat oils. Now, across the board, we all use synthetic oils. Yeah. So when a company tells you, such as me or someone else, we give you the timepiece, the mechanical timepiece, and say it has to be completely disassembled every 5 years, and you're like, oh, man, my watch landed last 8-9 years. Now there's no more oil fat left. The synthetics, they dissipate over time. So after 5 years, you're running dry no matter what on design. So we're slowly moving towards fully synthetic everything and plant-based chemicals. It's not good for us as watchmakers. You always see these beautiful pictures of watchmakers with their little glass bowl full of whatever chemical it is, and we're cleaning your part. Did you ever think that we're huffing those fumes? And over 30 years, what do you think that does to a watchmaker? It's not good for us either. And it just goes to prove that all this crap that we didn't know about back then, we know about it now. So there's absolutely no reason to, across the board, slowly infiltrate our world as well, for you and for us. Safety.
That's brilliant to know that those advances are happening. And there's obviously a long way to go with the sustainability and the environmental impact of watchmaking, but it is a 300-year-old plus profession, a skill, a craft that goes back over centuries, and so they actually predate considerably a lot of these wasteful techniques, and so there is an inherent art in watchmaking, traditional artisanal watchmaking, that is not wasteful, that is respectful, because a lot of, after all, Jean-Claude, the early Swiss watchmakers, they were farmers in the summertime, and when they had to take their animals in and they could no longer work the land because of the weather, the winter weather. I get the impression that they were very respectful of their environment, and I think it's probably the industrialization over the last 100 years, because mankind has accelerated at breakneck speed. At no time in mankind's evolution have we seen a spell of development like we have in the last 100 years, and
well, we have technologies coming our way as well. I know same gentleman said, asked another question there. I said it's one day we might eliminate lubricants altogether. Like my escapement, all of it is oilless, so there's no oil there. I know Roger W. Smith is working with nanotechnology to completely eliminate. We'll try those ways, but a lot of us are stuck with what we know because we've seen watches a few hundred years old on our benches, like me. so we know what works. So in independence, we try to kind of stick to the purity of what we know will still be around. Jean-Claude, can you give some insight of what you see of modern independent watchmaking? People like myself, people like V&A Halta, people like he's the older generation, the Paul Gerbers who started it all, the real guys working from their homes, making true in-house movements because it's in our house, right? What do you see? What do you see the future of this? What I call the third wave of these young guys coming out of school, because we do have a school in Switzerland called KHWCC Enrique School, who is teaching what I think is a very amazing course. But in addition, part of the course, he's teaching them how to take pictures, how to utilize the internet, and how to brand themselves a little bit as part of the course. What do you see as independent watchmaking of today and the future?
You know what we have seen today, a little bit because of the acceleration of the virus, we have seen at 4 levels the same phenomenon, which is the concentration. Let me start. We have seen a concentration of suppliers. For instance, a supplier has been bought by another one, the supplier of dials or whatever, or he has been bought by a brand. So we have less suppliers than we had 2 years ago, less suppliers. Then we have seen a concentration of brands. Some brands have been bought, some brands are in strong difficulty and might be bought. So we will have less brands. Then we have a concentration of retailers. We have less retailers because some have been bought by Bouguereau or others. So we have a diminution of the numbers of retailers. And then we have, last but not least, we have a concentration of the customers who all want to buy more or less the same brands. Mm-hmm. Never we had such a high demand for Rolex. Never did we have such a high demand for Patek, for AP, for Richard Mille, and eventually for Hublot. And what about the others? The others are all suffering. So we have a concentration from the top, from the suppliers, down to even the customers. The taste has been concentrated and is only on 5 different brands. Mm-hmm. And on these 5 brands, it's always the steel watch. Mm-hmm. So this concentration has consequences in the industry, because when there is a concentration, the strong become stronger, mm-hmm. and the weak become weaker and eventually disappear. Now, if the strong become stronger and bigger, there will appear, because that's the theory and that's the reality, the niches will increase. And who will fit with products this niche? That's the independent. Mm-hmm. The independent have the biggest, the brightest future that I have ever seen. Mm-hmm. Because that's the consequence of this concentration. When you concentrate, you leave open certain little markets that the big ones, they don't care about it and they cannot handle. So the small brands or the independent, they have now an incredible opportunity to fill these niches that are the consequences of the concentration. So that's my judgment. That's
cool. That's cool.
The biggest ever market, the biggest ever opportunities are for the independent and the small brands. They have a bright future, but they must become a little bit business orientated. Yeah. And they must now start to promote brand, to promote themselves, to have the recognition of their product that you can immediately see, hey, that's a watch from this or this. So they have to do the job. If they do the job, the future is for them.
I totally agree. In addition, so people would understand is the future of independent watchmaking, how we got here and the future from here and the opportunities we have. Time has helped us to be able to do what I'm doing here. 20 years ago, there is not a chance any mortal can afford any of the machines that are in my atelier here. It's impossible because they were still being used prior to CNC in the large companies, so they were priced accordingly for corporate entities, which is beyond the mortals. We couldn't have enough money. Then you'd have to go to the bank, and then you're a slave to a payment, which is not independence. Independence is you start small, you buy one used Shaolin 70, which you can find now. You can buy one used, old, crappy, rusty, shitty jig borer, and you can get going. Make yourself a watch bench. Get going. You got to start somewhere, and you can get out of the gate. Now, 20 years ago, that was a dream for me, 25 years ago, being at the top of La Brassou Mountain where you were, or at Wostep in Neuchâtel, or at Boulevard School here. That's a dream, seeing a picture of Paul Gerber and his triple rotor. We don't know how the hell he did that. He had friends with machines. Now you can get the machines. So independence is within grasp, and I'm trying to show that it's in grasp in the United States of America, where you can make your own movement, where it hasn't been done here in over 120 years, right? Someone's got to be first, or you're last, Ricky Bobby. And look at Japan, right? They know what they're doing. The independents there are doing incredible work, and everyone is unique. One guy is holding sand in a container of water, and that's how he's finishing everything by hand. Another guy's more of a business person. That's their brands. Don't say, I like this guy, he's not this, he's that. That's their independent brand. So be you, be yourself. It's possible now.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I see the same thing, Jean-Claude. It's exploded. And I'm just trying to let people know, like, you don't have to sit behind the desk where you've been at that company anymore. You really can start on the side. I have a lot of these conversations when people contact me behind the scenes to like push them. Hey man, I'm too old to go back to school. Dude, it's 2 years. How old are you? Like, I'm 48, man. You're not too old. Go to Switzerland, go to school. Come out of school, make a watch, you know?
It's a funny thing, and I have said this on In the Metal before, Dan and Jean-Claude, but if we wind the clock back, you're talking about 20 years ago, you couldn't have done this, Dan. But if we go back 20 years and look at what I marvel at some of the watches made by the pioneers of contemporary independent watchmaking. And they made these extraordinary timepieces, but they never took photographs of them. And I used to I couldn't believe it. We had the internet. I would go onto the website of a now famous independent watchmaker, and you were looking at little tiny thumbnails of these masterpieces, and how the internet has actually opened the door for the independent. I am a firm believer that the independent or the internet has been a fantastic leveler for the small guy to compete on exactly the same platform as the big guy. And it's down to the graphics, the visuals, the engagement. If you're down showing videos of your atelier while you're working on your escapement, or you're cutting your hands or things like that, you're bringing that customer into your world, and they're experiencing this watch coming together instead of it just being a final item that they see in a glossy magazine photograph. And so I think that's how times have changed, because
first of all, George Daniels, he let the secrets out a little bit, and now Instagram is the benefit for me for that is, and I push other people to do that as well. Like when we had Ava on, trying to please show us more of what you're doing, because in addition, the collector is getting an education now. Whereas before, like you said, it was a finished product. You got handed a finished product. Oh, look how this Patek, look at their Geneva stripes. Look at this hallmark. It had to be explained. Now they can follow along and see what we're doing, what it really takes to make a timepiece. Yeah. But again, and live inside our world. And again, that's our branding. That really shows what we each do. It shows, well, I'm restoring a giant monster, a 1.5 ton jig boring machine here that I got. I show what I do, what it takes to restore that machine. My blood is in that machine, my literal blood. And that machine will then go to make my part. That's my story, right? Yeah. That's my branding. I love to do that, right? But that's my branding. That's my art. And the artists like us, we are the creators. We are the inventors. Just like in my music was different from everybody else's. Everyone said it was too fast. It was too hard. It was too this. But that was in my blood. That's the music. And I believed that I could take over the world. And I did. And I not only this world, I went to another planet. So you top that, man. Yeah. Believe in yourself. And we are. And then you'll see all the copycats. Because they're the sheep. Oh, let me take a little piece of this, your music, and a little piece of that band's music, and let me dress like you. And then they hop on the stage, and we would let them, be an opening band for us or whatever. And we would see that, and it's an honor on one hand, but those are not free thinkers. Those are not the creators. Those are not a Salvador Dali. They're not them. They're never going to be us. They're going to grab hold like big brands are doing, like. Independence is showing how we do anglage and how we do perlage. And now all of a sudden is a facade of the big brand trying to create that they're one dude on top of a Swiss mountain making their pieces. It's never going to float for the intelligent people who are watching.
Yeah. I have a couple of questions remaining, Dan and Jean-Claude. One that I had in mind earlier today was, Jean-Claude, where do you see the watch industry taking itself in the next 20 years? Not be the all-encompassing, the whole independent and the watch industry in general. Do you see big changes ahead, or will it continue?
I see
ideas. Anything do you see?
I see enormous changes. Why?
Well,
because we are going to enter the 21st century in 8 to 10 years. Today, we live in the 20th century. I know that from the mathematics, 2021 belongs to the 21st century. That I know. Mathematically, I can understand. But in reality, we are still in the 20th century. Why? Because all the women and all the men that were shaping the 20th century, that were on command of the 20th century, in the economy, in business, in finance, in politics, wherever, all these people that were in command and that were shaping the 20th century, on the 31st of December, 1999, they celebrated at midnight the welcome of the 21st century. And on the 1st of January 2000, when they woke up, they changed nothing in their concepts, nothing in their philosophy, nothing in their politics, nothing in their capitalism, nothing in their finance, nothing in their ecology. They just went on, and they are still on, like me. I am from the 20th century, but in 2030, when the first people will come born in the 21st century with the ideas of the 21st century, they will make and shape the century their way and not the copy of our way. What have we done? We were capable to do 2 world wars in the 20th century.
Yeah.
We were capable to make nuclear tests in the Pacific. We were capable to destroy the sea, to destroy animals. God damn, can we be so proud of what we have done? No, we must be proud and hope that people, the new generation, will save us, will save planet, will save the economy, will save the political organization.
Agreed.
So that means that what I just explained globally is also valid for watches. So the 21st century might have a totally different approach to a watch. Will they have the same values than we? Will they want the same products? Why would they wear a watch? All this I cannot answer now, but I think you must be naive to believe that in 2040 it will go on like today. Impossible. The new generation, number one, they refuse property. They don't own cars. They don't own music. We were buying the 33 plates or the 45. They don't own music. They don't own cars. They share everything. They buy by leasing, etc. They don't do driving licenses anymore. So we have here a total different. It will be incredible, the difference that between 20th century and 21st. And how will they react to watches, knowing what Apple is doing, knowing that time is free? They don't need to look at the watch. So to say to anybody there will be no changes is crazy. And to tell what kind of changes will come, I am not capable now. I am working on it. I'm thinking on it. I'm working with other people to find out how will this new generation, how will they welcome a $10,000 watch? How will they welcome it? Will they have the wish to buy it? Will they have the education? Will they have the sensibility? Certainly a certain number, but will this number shrink or will it increase? These questions I don't have. I only know we will have a revolution globally for everything because we will enter a new century.
Totally agree.
Amazing answer.
It is really this generation is a totally different generation. You know, we're going to have electric cars picking people up with no drivers. You don't need a driver's license. I didn't drive for like 3 years. It's not really necessary anymore. There is so many different ways, and things are changing. We all know at this point, we have time in our pocket on our phone. We have time all around us. There's really absolutely no need, like our grandfathers or like me when I was younger, to wear a timepiece at all times, to know the time. That's the beauty of modern independent watchmaking, because we can move and groove in 24 hours. We can change things, and our wristwatches, what we're making now, is pure art. We know this already. At least the smart ones know this already, right? We know we don't have to tell time. So that's why you're starting to see a lot of timepieces where they're removing the dial and it's an abortion on the front, or whatever you want to call it. It's the gears are on the front and everything's on the front. The balance wheel's on the front, the tourbillon's on the front, and the perpetual calendar's on the front. It's become micro-mechanical art. It really has. And that's what's really cool about independent watchmaking as well, on that side of independent. Then there's other sides of independent watchmaking that will keep it traditional for the few that are there for traditional. So we can all bop around and do what we want. We don't have a giant boardroom. And as long as it represents your humanness, your art, and yourself.
Yeah. Listen,
Johnny, I will have to move. I will have to leave you in 1 or 2 minutes.
That's I'm aware of that. Yeah, I know we've extended what the
because I have people waiting for me.
That's
tell them we say hello.
Apology, but I'm sure you have.
Give him some cheese. Give him some cheese. Keep him happy.
Yeah.
Give me your address. I'll send you my cheese.
I will.
For sure.
Okay, Dan, you send me the address.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Jean-Claude, you have encountered so many different people of musical, for all different walks of musical life. Dan, this is usually your question. Go ahead. What do you listen to?
Yeah. So growing up, well, we know you're a hippie, but what kind of hippie music were you listening to back then? And what do you listen to now, as far as music goes?
I was listening to the Animals, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles. And what music am I listening now?
Mm.
The Animals, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles.
So you were never like at an Anthrax Metallica show in the pit, slam dancing or anything like that, no?
I am still old man. I am still.
Can you throw the metal horns? It means that you're warding off all evil. Can you? That's what it means.
Yeah. Listen, Jean-Claude, thank you so much for joining us today. I can't tell you what an honor and a pleasure it has been to hear your opinion on everything that we've touched on. Has been absolutely, I've been hanging on every word. We apologize to your guests, your lucky guests tonight.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. I hope to see you in reality.
Yeah. Next time.
I really in the eyes. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, we'll see.
Extra at the bottom. You can leave there anytime.
Okay. You have all my. Dan, I need your address for the.
Yeah. And then I see you soon. Also. I see you soon next time I come over.
You got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Okay. Bye. So, folks, that is we're going to wrap this up for this edition of In the Metal. We're back again next week. And it has been such an amazing show tonight, Dan.
Yeah, quite incredible to speak with Godfather. Who's for those who don't know, you need to actually use Google for once in your lifetime, because what he's done for watchmaking, not just how he can turn around a company and just be a king and do it in his own way. And shut all the old down and walk like the walk and convince the other people his way is the right way. And then 4 or 5 years later or 8 years later, that company has amassed to be that dream that he thought it would be. And it came true. And he's rebuilt a brand and brought back the 50 fathoms for Blancpain. It meant so much to so many. And it means so much to so many now from nothing. From a name for sale, and a dream. That's what music was to me. It's a dream in your bedroom that you could take over the world with your guitar. That's what independent watchmaking is to every independent watchmaker that really can dream. That really is his own way, his own timepiece, his own pathway. It could be a long-term goal where you got to start. Jean-Claude is a gentleman that you should all look to for advice. It's not just, that dude said this, whatever, man. No, that dude said that. You better fucking pay attention.
Yeah, listen, I have actually, Joe, I was about to wrap this up there, Dan, but sure, what the hell? We're going to shoot the breeze. But because I actually, when I was pitching the promotions for this, I asked the question, if you think about it and you stop to think about it, what would the watch industry look like at the minute if it weren't for Jean-Claude Biver? Because he almost single-handedly, he would never admit to say, it was me alone, because he's a great team player and he's a great people person, and he believes in the strength of a team, of a group of people driving towards an objective. And what would the watch industry? I don't think it would look the way it does today.
No, it just shows you that one person can change so much. He really can.
Yeah. I also wanted to say, because we have a great friend who is Pietro Tomayer, and Pietro has been doing a series of conversations with Jean-Claude Biver, and each one has its own theme, its own topic, and it's available on the limited edition. And he is on his Instagram page, folks. If you enjoyed watching what we've been watching tonight with Jean-Claude Biver, really go and check this out, because it is.
And support Pietro, because if you support independent watchmaking, there's your gentleman that also has stepped out of bounds and stepped out of his pocketbook to really help what we do as independent watchmakers, above and beyond the sleepless guy who does. He's sleepless, There's no sleep till Brooklyn for him, for sure. So support him, support In the Metal, support your local, whoever independent watchmaker, support your independent watchmaker in another country, in another planet. I don't care what it is. You just even heard Jean-Claude Biver tell you that in the future of watchmaking, in the now and in the future, who are the leaders? Who are the ones who are the creators? Who are the ones who are pushing the boundaries? You heard it from the man himself. It's the independence.
Yeah.
The true independence. We are that. We are the ones. So take your trip through the regular brands. There's plenty of beautiful brands out there, but please understand what we do. It's a long road to get where we are. We don't take funding from banks and all kinds of people. We really do fly by the seat of our pants as true artists. So support independent watchmaking any way you can, and try to come to understand so much of it, because it's just a beautiful art.
It's amazing. And that guy is just are you
kidding me? But you know what's even cooler, Johnny? He came on and just said, like what we try to do with the show, and we try to show with In the Metal is, he doesn't have to work.
Yeah.
Right? We all know that, right? But what's he say? He wants to give back his information, his love for watchmaking, to help others, help humanity. And that's really what it's all about, man. We have to share to other people, share information, and that's how we can further this beautiful art of independent watchmaking.
For absolutely sure, Dan. It's been an amazing one. I know it's been a little bit of a departure from our normal bread and water, which is the independent watchmakers, and we've got to get back into some of these ateliers, and that's the direction we'll be heading over the next few weeks again. So we're looking forward to another fantastic episode coming up next week, and we will be going behind the scenes of that Agengraph. We'll be going there, and
wonderful.
So
wonderful times ahead. In the Metal is just at its infancy stage. If you're all wondering what, where, and how, and when, and all that, where we'll go, we don't know, but we know we're going.
Before I go, I just wanted to say to Thomas, you asked a really great question about Mr. Hayek and his influence on the industry. Didn't get a chance to ask out there, but it's always wonderful to have you along. And for Voidwalker 2, for your brilliant question, thanks a million. We love having you guys watch us. It really makes us feel that we're doing something, contributing something to this incredible sector. As Dan says, we're only getting started, and we will.
Yeah, I wish Daniel Nicholas. Yeah, he don't speak English.
Yeah.
Hey, want to be a translator, bro? He's one of my heroes, man.
Do you speak French, having lived in Switzerland for so long?
Not like that. I couldn't sit here and tell you all the angst I have inside. I couldn't express it correctly. It would come out like I like cheese or something like that.
Listen, everybody, thanks a lot. I know I started saying like goodbye 10 minutes ago, so this time it's for real. Join us next week on In the Metal, and we look forward to having another fantastic conversation, hopefully in your company. Thank you.